What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back for another week breaking down the top players at each positions in the NFL's Week 9, according to Awesemo'S NFL rankings. It's a slightly shorter slate than usual, with just 10 games on Sunday's main slate, but there are some advantages I think you can take advantage of with the ownership we have so far. So right now, please hit that like button. And also, if you want to win a free month of Awesemo Plus, like the video and comment the guy you think is going to get 2 touchdowns at Week 9. Could be any tight end, running back, or wide receiver. Make your pick down below, and I'll announce the winner of last week's contest a little bit later on. As always, Awesemo'S NFL rankings are derived by a mix of points and value relative to the salaries on each of the DFS sites we're going to talk about, but let's get to it, starting with the quarterbacks and Phillip Rivers in a matchup versus Green Bay, in which there are 22.8 implied points for the Chargers. Rivers gets a B in points and an A in value on Draftkings and Fantasy Draft, a C in points and an A in value on Fanduel, and a C in points and a B in value on Yahoo. Rivers is likely too cheap industry-wide, with a ceiling that can be questionable, but a high likelihood of needing to pass to keep up given Aaron Rodgers' recent heater and a 73% completion rate that the Chargers defense is going to allow. A higher upside play looks like Russell Wilson in a matchup versus Tampa Bay, in which there are 29 implied points for Seattle. Wilson gets an A in points and an A in value on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Fantasy Draft, while he gets an A in points and a C in value on Yahoo. Tampa Bay's elite rush defense, allowing 3 yards per rush, could funnel things towards Wilson and the pass game, which gives him potentially high upside given the 286 passing yards per game they allow, and Wilson's remarkable efficiency when he's actually allowed to throw. And a guy who I think is still way too underappreciated, Matthew Stafford in a matchup at Oakland, in which there are 24 implied points for Detroit. Stafford did it again for us in Week 8, but he projects for low ownership going against an Oakland defense that allows 8.3 yards per pass, a 68% completion rate, and a 7.9% passing TD rate. And now onto the top running backs for Week 9, according to Awesemo'S NFL rankings, starting with Le'Veon Bell in a matchup at Miami, in which there are 22.8 implied points for the Jets. Bell gets a B in points and an A in value on FanDuel, while he gets a B in points and a B in value on DraftKings, Yahoo, and Fantasy Draft. Bell is priced up for the opportunity, but it's an ideal spot for him to get going, with Miami allowing 4.8 yards per rush and 160.4 rushing yards per game, while Bell is the vast majority of the workload for the Jets. And then we've also got Nick Chubb in a matchup at Denver, in which there are 21.3 implied points for Cleveland. Chubb gets a B in points and an A in value on Fantasy Draft, a B in points and a B in value on DraftKings and FanDuel, and a B in points and a C in value on Yahoo. Denver's run defense is tough, with 4.1 yards per rush and an 85 grade from PFF, but Chubb, with his 22 touches per game and 3.7 yards after contact per rush, can get going in any spot with some risk due to Chubb's chalky ownership. And a running back who's pricey but I think could smash this week is Dalvin Cook in a matchup at Kansas City, in which there are 25.3 implied points for Minnesota. Dalvin has been stellar on the year with 5.3 yards per rush with 23 touches per game. And now he goes against Kansas City's poor 50 graded run defense by PFF that allows 4.9 yards per rush. He's also a lower owned pivot to a pricier Christian McCaffrey. And now onto the top receivers according to Awesemo'S NFL rankings. Let's start with Courtland Sutton in a matchup versus Cleveland, in which there are 17.8 implied points for Denver. Sutton gets a B in points and an A in value on Fantasy Draft, a B in points and a B in value on DraftKings and FanDuel, and a B in points and a C in value on Yahoo. Sutton had a 23% target share with Joe Flacco, and he should continue to be relied on by Brandon Allen against Cleveland's 49 graded pass coverage by PFF, with a 6.2% passing TD rate allowed. And once again, Tyler Lockett versus Tampa Bay grades out well with that 29-point implied total for Seattle. Lockett gets an A in points and a B in value on FanDuel, an A in points and a C in value on Yahoo, and a B in points and a B in value on DraftKings and Fantasy Draft. Lockett would benefit if Tampa Bay shuts down Chris Carson and the run game, and it should see very winnable matchups outside with a 6.8 targets per game and an 85% catch rate. And here's a guy who looks exceedingly low owned, but I think is big upside, Robbie Anderson, that matchup at Miami, in which there are 22.8 implied points for the Jets. Miami just allowed Mason Rudolph the best game of his young career, and now Sam Darnold can get back on track, with Robbie Anderson getting 1.6 deep targets per game, going against a Miami defense that gives up a sky-high 9% passing TD rate and 10 air yards per target. And now let's close it out with the tight ends and the defenses in Awesemo'S NFL rankings, starting with Darren Waller in that matchup versus Detroit, in which there are 26.5 implied points for Oakland. Waller gets an A in points and a B in value on DraftKings, Yahoo, and Fantasy Draft, while he gets an A in points and a C in value on FanDuel. Waller crashed back down to earth last week, but Detroit allows a 13% DVOA boost to tight ends and gives up 290 passing yards per game overall. And it's a brutal matchup for this guy, but he's just too cheap. Zach Ertz in that matchup versus Chicago, in which there are 23.5 implied points for Philly. As I mentioned, it's a brutal matchup, and Dallas Goedert has taken a lot of touchdown opportunity off the table, but Ertz is priced down with 8 targets per game and positive regression due for his catch rate as well as his touchdown scoring. And according to Awesemo'S NFL rankings, one of the top defenses looks to be Carolina's defense in a matchup versus Tennessee, in which there are 19.5 implied points against Carolina. Carolina should be able to shut down a Tennessee passing offense who got really lucky in Week 8 thanks to Jameis's red zone turnovers, with some risk due to their own poor run defense that gives up 5 yards per rush with a 6.3% rushing TD rate. And there's one defense where I think if you pay pay up, it's going to pay off, and that's Buffalo's defense versus Washington in a game in which there are 13.8 implied points against Buffalo. Dwayne Haskins will start for Case Keenum with an 18% interception rate and a 15% sack rate on the year. He gets worse under pressure with a 20% interception rate and a 40% sack rate going against a legitimately solid Buffalo defense who also deflects 19% of opposing QB's passes. Dwayne Haskins' stats just make me laugh, but anyway, that's what I'm seeing so far for Week 9 according to Awesemo'S NFL rankings. So right now, please hit that like button. If you want to win a free month of Awesemo Plus, like the video and comment your 2-touchdown boy, any wide receiver, tight end, or running back who you think gets 2 touchdowns in Week 9 down below. Last week, we had a bunch of correct guesses in the 2-touchdown game, so I ran the random Excel generator and we came up with a winner, and that guy is Robert Pena, who picked Mike Evans. So good call by you, Robert Pena. Email me at chris@awesemo.com to collect your prize. And for everybody else, if you want to win your free month, like the video and comment your 2-touchdown boy down below. And I think this week in particular, you're going to want the ownership projections we have at awesemo.com. So use this promo code SWITCHANDHEDGE for half off your first month of Awesemo Plus. You can also find packages as low as $3.95 a week if you go to awesemo.com/join right now. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. I've got On the Contrary tomorrow, my personal podcast as well, and Live Before Lock coming up Sunday. So go check out what I'm doing right now on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spag. I'll be back with you guys next week for another dose of Awesemo'S NFL rankings. Hit that like button before you go. And hope you guys all have a great weekend, a successful Week 9, and of course, good luck.